Hello, my name is Ashley, this is Faithful Rattos, and welcome back. So, in today's video, I have a really exciting one for you. I'm here to talk about the 2 new rat litters that have been born here in the Faithful household in the past couple of weeks. It is super exciting. I've waited so long to get to the point where I can start my breeding program and have my first litters. It's been over 18 months since I made the conscious decision, yes, this is what I'm going to try and do. But it's been many years before that I've wanted to do this, but hadn't feel ready to sort of commit. So I'm really excited to share this all with you, to talk about my experience and maybe answer some questions about my experience. Now, I don't mean this video to be like informational necessarily, because this is my first round of litters. I am by no means an expert in this. There are lots of things that I'm going to learn throughout the way, but I do find that it's really helpful to share realistic journeys and real, true, honest things on my channel, because a lot of people can benefit from them. And I think it also is helpful for me to process the good, the bad, and the ugly that I've been through, to talk about it with you and to express myself. As I mentioned in my last video, I had 2 does paired up with some books. My does are from Alpha Centauri Stud, and my books were from Novigrad Rattery. And these 2 wonderful humans helped me out so much by trusting me with rats to start my lines with, which is super important, to start your lines with ethically bred, temperamentally sound and healthy rats with good type. And I got really lucky with the rats that I was able to get. So the does are really special. They have the same birthday as me, which is really special, but they also have in their lineage a lot of the special rats that I've had over the years. So their granny is Plum, Plum's ears are right here on my arm, and he was a super special rat to me. And then the rest of their family tree is interconnected with other rats that I've had, like Ordwin and Akatosh and Coram and Bentham, which is really exciting. And then on the dad's side, from Novigrad, obviously Cheeky came from Novigrad, which is really exciting. And so they have her in their family tree. So it's really special to get to combine these 2 lines full of rats that I've absolutely adored. So yeah, it's super exciting, and I wouldn't be here without those 2 ratteries helping me out, and all the other people who've helped me out to get to this point, whether that has been with advice or offering rats if possible. Some of those haven't worked out, and that's fine, but yeah, I wouldn't be here without the help that I've had, and that's why I think it's so super important that you're part of the community, because you never know when you need the support, and you never know just how helpful other people can be. Even if it's just support and encouragement, it's really helpful. And I'll get into a bit about what's been happening with these litters, and you can see why I am absolutely in awe of just having community. I think it's so great. Okay, into the first litter. So my plan is, when I check on them today, which I haven't done yet, is to get some footage that I can use here. I am planning to do a video where it's like no talking, it's just watching them grow up. So I have been filming them every day, if I've remembered. So yeah, let's just get into it. There might be footage overlaid of this. Might not be, who knows? So the first litter is the Bissas. So this is Beatty and Marissa. Beatty is Novigrad, Victor of Faults, and Marissa is Alpha Centauri, Mother of Evil. And I like this from other breeders. So I know that Kinra used to do this. I've had Kinras. I know that Asami used to do this, where you smush both parents' names together to get the litter name. I think that's really good. So I've done this, and I think is what I'm going to do moving forward. So the first litter that I'm going to talk about are the Bissas. And if you've been following me on other social medias, you've heard me refer to them as the Bissa dozen, because there's 12 of them. So the Bissas were born on the 24th of August, which was day 23 of Marissa's pregnancy, which is pretty normal. And she had birthed 13. Unfortunately, when we checked later that day in the evening, she had actually lost one, which was unfortunate. I don't understand what happened to it. It had a full milk band. It had a full tummy. It was just dead. I couldn't find any injuries or anything like that. So there must have been something wrong internally that caused that baby to pass away, maybe. Or maybe it suffocated. I don't know. I really don't know what happened to it. But it is really not uncommon to lose, especially in the first couple of days. So she now has 12, even though she birthed 13. And those 12 are doing really great. She has 7 bucks and 5 does, 6 Dumbo and 6 Standard Ear, 6 Wheaton and 6 Russian Wheaton, if I'm not mistaken. They are day 12 today, which is really exciting. They are growing so well and they are absolutely on track for where I expect them to be developmentally. They are big and strong, and on day 11 yesterday, we actually had rats escaping the nest, following after Marissa, trying to find her, which was very cute. I helped her put them back, but that shows that in a couple of days they're going to be opening their eyes and they're going to be wandering around. Initially, she had her nest in the bendy bridge, so I did give them both in their cage different types of nesting materials, an upturned spugnic, like just the base, and a bendy bridge to see what they wanted to do for their nest. Marissa initially birthed inside the bendy bridge, and then on day 8 she moved them out into the corner of the cage and built a mound around them, and that is her nest. I think they were probably just getting a little bit too big for her to comfortably go in there and feed them, which is why she moved them. She is wonderful. She absolutely loves her kittens. She's constantly on the nest. I haven't had any concerns with that. Some does, especially in slightly large cages, can get a bit flighty or not want to feed, and she's absolutely great. She loves them. She doesn't mind us handling them. She's wonderful. She does love to come out and have a run around, or to go into her main cage, her normal cage, and bother her sisters and run on the wheel and dig in the soil, which she's done a couple of times now. But she loves to come out and to say hi to us and just run around and see what she can bring back to the nest. She brought back random papers that she found in the living room. She also tried to bring back my skirt, which was not very nice, Marissa. She chewed a massive hole in it without me realizing. Fashion casualty. Anyway, but yeah, she has been absolutely wonderful. And now since the kittens have actually started coming out of the nest themselves, she doesn't mind us handling them in front of her, which is really nice, because before I was putting her in a carrier with some food or putting her in the main cage, so she didn't have to witness me do that. But she's been really great the past couple of days. Now that they're coming out themselves, I've been helping her to put them back, and she's had no issues. In fact, yesterday we were holding some of the escapees in our hands while she was having a run around, and she just didn't care. She was like, "Oh, you've got them? Okay, good. Look after them, please. I'm out." She has now got quite well-used nipples because she has 12 babies, so that is one baby per nipple. And now they've started to get teeth, and they're quite big. Her nipples are quite well-used. They don't look sore, and I'm not concerned or anything, but they do look a lot more prominent. I don't think there's anything else left to say apart from one thing, is that I had super hoped that there would be some Siamese in this litter. And based on the colourings as of yesterday, I really don't think there is. I think it's just Wheaton and Russian Wheaton, which doesn't absolutely confirm that he's a sable, that BT's a sable Russian Wheaton, but it does check another box. His colour being quite dark, his babies and there not being a Siamese. Now, that's not to say there is just no chance, because, you know, even though there should have been a 50-50 chance for Siamese, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. So I don't think there's Siamese, unfortunately, which has given me a bit of a issue thinking about my next generation. I am going to be adopting some other rats, which I'll tell you about in a different video at some point. And one of those is a Siamese, thankfully. But in this generation, I don't have Siamese, and I don't have any Siamese does in particular, which I'm not super a big fan of. Okay, on to the second litter, which is the Sophox. So the Sophox are Sophonax and Burdock. Sophonax's full name is Alpha Centauri, A Coat of Autumn Leaves, and Burdock's full name is Novigrad, Rooted in Covey Song. They are two wonderful rats. They are both so sweet. I mean, Marissa and BT are as well, but Sophie and Burdock are so sweet. And Burdock is a Rex, so I was really hoping for some Rex, and I did get some. So the Sophox were born on day 24 of Sophie's pregnancy, and that was on the 1st of September. So they're quite young. They're still only 4 days old now. There is only 3 of them. And I'll get into a little bit why this is actually quite a big concern and why we were super worried for a while. So she has 3 Rex babies, and they are all does. She has 2 Dumbo and 1 standard deer, as far as I can tell. And I'm pretty sure that 1 is Wheaton and that 2 are Sable Wheaton. And now the reason why I know the difference is because of their pigment, and Sable is much darker than Wheaton. And because both parents carried 1 copy of Burmese, it is possible for Sable. And obviously Sophie is Wheaton herself. And I think she's AA, so she doesn't carry self. So there was no chance for the Burmese. We'll find out in a couple more days if I'm absolutely right on this. But there was chance for Siamese in this litter as well. But because there's only 3 babies, I think we sort of did run into a little bit of a hiccup there with, you know, genetics and everything. So again, no Siamese in this litter as far as I'm aware, which is going to cause me to have to think about what I'm going to do next generation. But it's okay. It's not a huge issue. We can still get Siamese out from a Wheaton or a Wheaton-Burn pairing. It's just more unlikely than if we had Siamese. And as I've mentioned, I really don't want to be doing too many sables. It's not something that I want to focus on. So I'll talk about the concern with this litter before I talk in how they're doing and stuff. So there was concern with this litter because Sophie birthed only 3, and usually rat litters are more than that. Usually between 8 and 12 is the kind of common average number. They aren't usually 4 or smaller. And smaller litters can come along with a couple of different issues. So the first one being, like, there's an initial problem with birthing, and that mum has retained babies and she is still in the middle of birthing, or one is stuck, and that can be a really big issue, obviously, and that can be an emergency situation. If she's not going to birth them naturally, you may have to go in and spay, and then you have to find foster for those babies. So that was a concern. Now, I felt her, and she didn't feel like she had anything left. Her vagina had closed up. She was acting completely normally, bright-eyed, wanting food, etc. So I wasn't super worried in that regard, but that can be a concern, and that can happen. And then the other concern is that sometimes small litters can mean that the milk supply isn't stimulated enough and that the mum doesn't have enough milk to cope. Right now, Sophie is doing great, thankfully, but that was a really big concern that initially we were going to have issues with her feeding them. Now, I will talk about in the next section about feeding and supplements, and I have been helping her out on that front with what I'm feeding her, very nutritious foods. However, that can be a concern, and that is still an ongoing concern. Now, I've looked at her, and it seems that only her bottom 4 nipples are being used, and I'm assuming that's just because where the babies can reach easier, so those are the ones that are being used, and of the 3 of them, that kind of makes sense that those 4 bottom nipples are being used, but she does have 12. She isn't using the other 8 as far as I'm aware. She may need to use them as they get bigger, and I perhaps think that at some point I'm going to merge the litters together, and at that point she may have to use other nipples as well, because those babies from the other litter might want to nurse from her. Another thing to think about with small litters is the cause. Why is there only a few babies? So as I said, sometimes it can be retained babies, sometimes it can be stillborn that's already been eaten. I don't think that was true for Sophie, but that is a possibility. But also infection whilst they are pregnant can cause babies to be lost in utero and to be reabsorbed. And I think this is kind of likely in Sophie's case, because I don't think infertility is necessarily going to be an issue right now. The dads are young, she was young, so I don't think it's a fertility thing, but I do think the possibility of it being an infection thing could ring a bit true. She was a little bit snotty and sneezy for the last week of her pregnancy, and it started to go away now. I do have a vet appointment booked with my mobile vet because I don't feel comfortable bringing her and the babies to the vet. She's starting to sound a lot better now. So I do think that perhaps that might be the cause of her having a smaller litter. So again, I could think about test mating either her again or burdock again to see what happens. And I do think I'm going to use burdock again in the future. So if he has another small litter, then maybe we can look at it possibly being an infertility thing. But I just don't think that is true of this case, though it definitely could be. I will be speaking to my vet about it as well, because I know that she's seen a lot of other people's rats and pregnant rats and litters and stuff. So yeah, that is one thing that I haven't really talked about on my social media, but I feel like my YouTube is different. I have a different sort of audience here, and people are much more like regular about things and don't sort of make it into a big deal. But I just didn't want to mention it on social media until I was like sure that everything was okay. Sophie is a wonderful mum. She spends a lot of time on the nest, as does Marissa, but she also does, like Marissa, like to have her own mummy time and have a wander around, go back into the cage, that sort of stuff. She does love that. But her babies are slightly younger, so she hasn't had as much chance to do that. She has her nest inside the Spudnik, and that is where she birthed. And I don't imagine she's going to move her nest because she only has 3 little babies in there. So I don't think that's going to be an issue with space. And she's built a wonderful nest, which is really great. I gave them the same choice. So I gave her a Spudnik and a bendy bridge and the same nesting materials, the same substrate, and they chose to do different things, which is really interesting. On to her babies. Her babies are ahead developmentally. So on day 2, the second day that they were born, I checked them. One of them had dandruff, which you don't expect until day 4. And that was on day 2. And they had unfolded ears, which you don't again expect until day 4, and they had quite a lot of pigment. And from the second day, I could tell that there was probably wheaten and sable wheaten in the litter, which is insane. And then on day 3, they were all covered in dandruff, and they all had their ears like away from their head, which is just crazy. That is really, really fast development, and this is all down to the milk supply they're getting and the fact that there's not mounds of them sharing it. And it is quite common for the small litters to go this way. So there is the risk that the milk supply will not be stimulated enough. But then the other way that can happen sometimes is that the babies get such a good amount of milk and the milk is such a good supply that they turn out to be developmentally ahead and really big, which we could see. So I'm interested to see what they look like today and how ahead they seem. But yeah, that is Sophie's babies, and they're doing really great. The Sophox trio, as I've been calling them, and they're all girls, so I'm definitely going to be keeping one of them moving forward. And yeah, those are the babies. So on to other parts of this video. So feeding mums. What have I been feeding them? I've had a question as well. Is this different? So they are getting mostly their normal mix, but they are getting some extra meals as well. So lots of things that I'm using are for particular reasons to help out mum and her milk supply. So a lot of protein. So this is cat food, egg, chicken. Carbs, I've been using pasta, bulgur wheat porridge, lots of variety in there. Leafy greens is especially good. Leafy greens have a lot of natural calcium in them and it's easy to digest in the system. So spinach and kale are the ones that I've been using. I've also been doing cottage cheese, which is protein, and chicken bones as well. Chicken bones are great because they've got the chicken on them and the collagen and everything. But then they also have inside the bones themselves lots of nutrients, calcium, etc. And inside the marrow, there's a lot of good nutrients too. Supplement-wise, they've been getting the CaCUD3 supplement on their food, which is calcium, copper, and D3, which is obviously really important. Nutritional yeast, which is great for folic acid and B vitamins, which are important in milk production as well and baby development. And they've also been getting Dr. Squeakle's Daily Essentials in their water with the Calcivet, and also fenugreek powder, which I found is apparently very good for milk supply. So I got this in particular for Sophie when I was concerned about her and her milk supply, but she seems to be doing great. So that is what I've been feeding them. So they've been getting their normal mix with a little bit extra protein, dog kibble, and then they've also been getting extra meals once a day during the time when I get their babies out for them to have a nice distraction. One other thing that I want to talk about is how I'm feeling with all of this, because obviously this is overwhelming in a lot of different ways. This is overwhelming in a stressful way, but also overwhelming in a really positive way as well. So breeding any animal, but breeding rats in particular, is not all fun and easy. It's not all, oh, cute babies, let's have a cuddle. Lots of negative, bad things can happen. Your does can die, the babies can die. And so that's why it's not something that I rushed into without thought. This is why there was a lot of planning and preparation that went in. And this is why I don't recommend that you go into these things without the proper planning and preparation either. There has been a lot of worry and stress, particularly about Sophie's babies, but my first litter, the BTs, I was also quite worried about because I just didn't really know what to expect. And I've sort of settled into a routine of checking them once a day, but initially I felt really concerned that I couldn't see them all the time. Totally a me thing. Couldn't be a hamster mom, I don't think, if I couldn't see them. But yeah, so it's not all, great. It's not all, oh, happy, cute babies. It is worry and stress inducing as well. And I wanted to make that clear that throughout this whole experience, it's not just like sunshines and rainbows. But saying that, it has been so, so rewarding. Seeing how the mums take to motherhood and the special bond that we have now, and seeing the babies grow up is so, so special. And if you are going to do it the right way, I absolutely want to say, go ahead, do it the right way. It's a wonderful experience, but you are risking their lives. So just don't do it just for the sake of it, if that makes sense. 2 things that I will say that have helped me a lot. The first thing is Isami Rat's breeding series that she did. I've mentioned it in my previous video. She took the whole process from start to finish, from mating to sort of temperament testing the babies as they were 6 to 8 weeks old. And she sort of made lots of videos along that series. And that has been so helpful for me to see what's normal and what to expect. Another thing that's been super helpful is this book. So this is called The Rat's Whiskers, An Experience of Rat Breeding by Annette Rand. I've actually stewarded for Annette at a couple of MLC shows, I think. But this is a wonderful book that goes, like Isami's breeding video series, it goes through the whole sort of pairing, deciding to pair, who to pair, pairing, the pregnancy and birth, and then the sort of development of the babies. This has been super helpful to help me know that my babies are on track and that there's nothing to worry about. So this and the videos have been super helpful. And if you are a first-time breeder and you feel like you've done all the research you can, but you still feel like you're not sure what to expect, these are really great. So I don't think this book was necessarily meant to be educational. I think it was just meant to be like, see how the rats grow up sort of thing, with lots of cute pictures. However, I do think that has been super helpful for me, and I think it would be for other people as well. So the last thing for this video is just a couple of questions. So one person asked, how can you tell the varieties apart? So I have mentioned this a little bit. Some of it is to do with the genetics of the rats involved and what I can expect, and the others is based on the darkness of the pigment and the tone once the fur starts to come through. And also you can tell an agouti-based rat versus a black-based rat because agoutis have a demarcation and a paler belly. So adult agoutis have the silver belly, and depending on what other varieties you're sort of agouti-based, the Wheaton has kind of a silvery sandy coloured belly. You know, the belly is lighter and you can tell that demarcation down their side. So that is how you can tell the varieties apart. As for the ears, which is really interesting, on the first couple of days they are folded over, and the direction of the fold tells you whether it's Dumbo or top ear. Dumbos are folded straight up and down, and top ears are folded sort of like on a diagonal, as you can see that their ear is folded like this, whereas Dumbos are folded like this, if that makes sense. And then as they unfold and open and sort of come apart from the head, you can tell by the eye line, so the middle part of the eye where they will eventually open, if that is like above or the top of the ear, that's a Dumbo, or if it's below or halfway, then it's usually a top ear. You can also sort of tell by the shape of the ear. So top ears, especially in the younger babies where they're not sort of awake, open eyes and everything, their top ears look a bit more elfy and the Dumbos look rounder. And then Rex, you can tell from whiskers from day one, day dot, you can tell the Rexes. Now, if you've got other things like in the mix, like double Rex or Velveteen in other countries, I don't think it's as easy, but you can tell Rex by whiskers from day one. Another question I got is, how will I monitor temperament? Now, this is something that I'm still researching about, and I'm seeing how other people are doing it. I don't necessarily agree with the strict temperament testing that a lot of American breeders do, where they start culling rats that have a fear phase or anything like that. But I will obviously be monitoring temperament and making sure that that is something that I'm noting down. I will say, though, that you need to make sure you're socializing them equally and that you're not giving extra attention to just one, because that will sort of be a reinforcing cycle, if that makes sense. Another question I got is, how many do you plan to keep? So at this point, I'm planning to keep 3 girls and 2 boys from these litters. And I've also given Rat Dad a free choice for him to choose one kitten that he wants. Now, this could be one that I want to keep based on temperament and type and stuff, but it doesn't have to necessarily be. And this is because they're his pets too, but breeding is kind of my thing. It's what I decided to do, but they are still his pets. So I wanted him to be able to pick one just for the sake of it, just for a pet. And it could turn out that that's one that I also want to keep based on my assessments, but we will see. Another question, how close is close for same age company? So when they go home, when they are homing age, you want between 2 at push 3 weeks. That is the sort of same age company that people talk about. But when they are this small, that is even smaller. So I wouldn't really class them as same age at this point unless they're sort of less than a week apart. And this is where I got a little bit of a problem that my babies are 8 days apart, because I'm now trying to figure out when would be the best time to merge the litters. So if Sophie's babies continue to be developmentally ahead, that could put them sort of ahead a couple of days, and so that they're not such a big age gap, but we shall see what happens. Somebody asked about the mums. Are they okay? They are doing great. Thanks for asking. They are wonderful. They have taken it all in their stride and they are looking after them so well. And then the last question that I'm going to answer in this video is, how will you wean them? It won't be me that weans them necessarily. So at 2 weeks old, their eyes open, and then after that, they start to explore more and to see what's going on. At that point, they start to try food themselves. And as the days go on, they eat more and more solid food and they rely less on mum. Her milk supplies goes down and they are feeding from the food. And then at about 5 weeks, 5.5 weeks, depending on the litter and how it matures, then you will sex split. And obviously the boys then at that point will be solidly eating just food, just solid food. And then the girls, sometimes some people keep them with their mums and they can continue to feed for comfort, I guess, at that point. But some breeders will take the mums away at that point, and at that point, the girls also will be feeding themselves with their mouths and their hands, as it were. But yeah, that is everything that I wanted to say in this video. I hope it wasn't too long. I hope it gave you your fix of baby rats, but I did want to do a video where I just talked about the whole experience, and perhaps in my next litters in 6-9 months time, I may vlog the whole experience, but it just didn't feel right to vlog this time as I was so new to the whole experience. I didn't know what to expect. I was very, very worried at certain points. So yeah, that is everything. I will be sharing the video of their development when they get up to about 5 weeks, the sort of the look of that. If you're interested in the future, I will be talking about them a lot on my channel. Obviously, it won't solely be about them though. But yeah, that is everything I wanted to say. If you want to stick around and subscribe, you can see all of this unfold. You can see my educational videos and my vlogs as well, which is really exciting. You could also become a channel member if you want to stick around. There are lots of different perks available. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!